thank you for joining. I am so thankful that you are being entertained right now by me talking to wonderful women that are doing amazing things and sharing my journey also. And today I have Andrea with me. But before we get started, if you're wondering why you're seeing me right now, who is this person? My name is Yolanda. I am locating cozy, and this is a broad chat. So today I have with me Andrea. How are you doing, Andrea? Thank you for joining me.
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. Yeah, despite the cold weather here in Madrid, it's fine.
Girl, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I have a whole new respect for Zaragoza. Excuse me,
Mm.
Zaragoza. I don't mean to say that making fun, but I realize I say it wrong all the time, and I'll tell you about it later on. But yes, I live in Zaragoza. Andrea lives in Madrid,
Okay.
and yeah, the weather. Madrid weather be doing some damage. Oh my gosh. I was there a couple of weeks ago and it snowed in
Yep.
Madrid.
Good.
And so right now it's been raining.
Yep. Constantly for the last 3 weeks.
Oh wow. For the oh geez, okay.
Oh yeah, and ice, also sleet, um, ice. Yeah, it's been cold.
Wow. Okay. See, yeah, I am so thankful to be back. Because I was there in Madrid for a 3 week pet sit, and then I came back 2 weeks ago, and I am just so happy to be back in my place. Yeah, it's because my insulation is better in my flat, so I appreciate that. And also, like it rained like all day yesterday, and I was like, ooh, this is wild. Yeah,
Mhm.
because the thing is, I'm from Texas. So in Houston, like when it rains, it rains. It's not like a pretty rain. It's
Mhm.
like we gonna drown the whole city. Okay, kind of thing. So I yesterday when it was raining all day yesterday, I was like, I'm gonna still go out and run my errands because it's not that bad. And actually, yeah, I was like, no, you're not going nowhere. It's raining in Zaragoza. So I can't imagine what it's been like for you for 3 weeks in Madrid.
Yep. It kind of made me reminded me of London, where I'm from, and I was
Mm.
like, why am I here? Because that's really the pattern.
She's
Because
like,
it's
this
not.
is the choice I made.
This is the
What?
choice I made, yeah. I mean, and the thing is, it's not. I mean, it's not so much the rain, which is annoying for me. It's the blue skies,
Mhm.
because that's what I love about living here in Madrid. Because the skies are normally really blue. I kind of call it like the Simpsons blue when the Simpsons starts, and it's that sky with the one cloud. It's
The
quite often it's like that.
Simpsons.
It's usually like that, and it hasn't been like that for 3 weeks. And it's been really interesting because it's reminded me of why I moved. One of the reasons why I moved was because I wanted blue skies.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. But it's still because you've lived in Madrid for how long now?
Oh, I'm trying to think. The other day, 12 years.
12. Okay, yeah. So it's not like you leaving, like
No,
F
I'm
this
not
weather,
gonna.
I'm out.
Oh, the weather's bad. I'm going home, and that's it. No, no, 12 years. But it's my home. It's my home now.
Okay, great. So before we get started and learning all about Andrea and her life that she's built here and origin stories, I'd like to start out and always ask the question of Andrea, how have you been locating your cozy? How are you locating your cozy? What have you done lately that has just been just about you for completely selfish, joyful reasons? How are you locating your cozy?
Well, I was when I was thinking about this, I was thinking. I mean, I got myself a VPN and I watch British TV. Much as and to be fair, the changes that have happened in the UK in terms of representation makes it really worth it because
Hmm.
I see Londoners like me. There's series by Londoners like me. So one series that I've watched, which is quite very very good, which is a name that I've completely forgotten. It's just like about Londoners doing London things, and that's what I like. So I like to just relax, switch off, and watch a bit of British TV. Much as I don't particularly want to go back and live in the UK, there's something about watching UK TV and hearing people that sound like you and look like you and stuff that's great, really.
Yeah, I get that. I remember, what was it? Was it Black Mirror? And then there was another show that came out years ago where it was the diversity. It was Black people not being some super crazy like android
Mhm.
being that's why they were so smart or anything. It was just Black people just in society.
Yeah,
And
just
I just remember that I'm watching, I want to say it was Black Mirror but there wasn't like anything spectacular. It wasn't like some kind of like, there wasn't any kind of like major oppression. I mean, there was a
Mhm.
storyline and a plot, but it wasn't like your character is on here and it has to be black because,
Yeah.
there was an oppression, there was an injustice, there was, this super smart, being, and we have to show and justify why this black person is super smart. It was just like, no, just every day we live together. We
Yeah.
are we're conversating and amongst each other.
Yeah.
Period.
I mean, that's what it's become more and more like that in British TV. It's like, you put it on, there'll be your family, they're going about their lives, doing their things. And I was thinking about this the other day because there was something about the actor that was in Walkabout, the Nick Rogue Australian film, which I watched when I was a kid. It's from 1972 or something. And I remember being a little kid in London and watching it and thinking, this is amazing. There's a black person on TV, not being ridiculed, not being a criminal. He was just an Aboriginal man who basically starts walking around with these white British kids who are lost out in the outback. And then when I saw that, I thought, yeah, because it wasn't like that when I was growing up. People think of London, they think of London now. So when I tell them about what it was like for being a black family in my part of London, be the only ones, what it was like, they think I'm making a joke or something like that. But no, it was difficult. So now, British TV, I mean, so much so because you get the usual, oh my God, why does everything have to be about diversity? It's like, well, no, actually, we exist. We are people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know. They're just people going about their lives. So I quite like that. I like that.
Okay. Well, yay. That's a win for the VPN.
Yeah,
Woo. Okay.
and like, to be fair, living here in Spain, it can get like that sometimes. You think, although where I live in Madrid is fairly, I live near Lavapiés, so it's fairly, you see black people, but you don't, you don't see that many, so it's quite good. Every time I come back from being in London, I'm like, oh, I'm back in Spain.
Yeah.
I'm clearly back in Spain. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, because I live in Zaragoza and, I don't feel othered here, but I notice.
Yeah.
I notice. But yeah, I don't feel othered, although, what my experience is not everybody else's experience, every other black person's experience. So let me just acknowledge that. But I feel more connected, and even though I don't feel othered in Zaragoza, I feel more connected with the black community when I'm in Madrid. I feel more connected. It's not like I have to go out and go see somebody that's black every day. Don't get me wrong. But I just feel more connected. Like I have more access. Same thing when I'm in Lisbon. It's not like I'm going around just high-fiving every black person that I see. Like, hey, but although I think I did that when I first came to Lisbon, the first time we came, I was there for an event. I think it was the Our Black Utopia event in Lisbon. And I remember seeing black tourists and I was like making eye contact, like, I see you. And they were like, and? Okay.
The little nod. I remember seeing an episode of Blackish, I think, when I think the kid didn't do the black person nod. And I remember when I was a kid, when my mum used to do it or talk to the black people, she saw them, I'd think, oh, stop it, you're embarrassing. But I do it now. I'm like, hey.
Yeah. It's like, hey, I see you. Okay. Yeah. It's like, it's not the same thing, but almost in a way. It's like people that have motorcycles in the US. I don't know if they do it in other countries, but in the US, if you're on a motorcycle, there's this drop hand thing that they do. Like you can't see, but I know like they like do some kind of hand gesture, like, like, hey, or something like that. I don't know what it is, so don't come at me. But I know that whenever, especially on Harleys, if you see another motorcyclist on a Harley, there's a hand signal that they give that just shows respect, like, I see you. Yeah. So I get it. So how am I locating my cozy? At first I was like, I don't know, but I'm not going to show you guys. I've been sick, and actually, if you can't tell, I still have my man voice going on. But I got a bunch of fabric and everything, and went to the thrift store and everything, and got like stuff so I can like practice upcycling and practice my sewing and everything. So today when I got up, I actually went the other day and because I don't have a printer, I'm going to go ahead and get one. But I went and printed out a PDF sewing pattern. And then I had to like puzzle it together, piece it together, because it was like 26 pages. Oh, wow. It was only €2 to print it out, but it was 26 pages. And then you come home and then you piece it together and tape it together. And then you cut out the patterns in the size that you want. and then you cut out the fabric and then you start sewing. And so that's what I've been doing. And I just started sewing. I cut out the patterns the other day. And today, this morning, when I got up, I was sewing I'm doing a mock-up. So I got like some old cheap fabric and I'm doing a mock-up to see how it looks before I actually use like some fabric, So yeah, I didn't want to do the mock-up, but I was like, all the people that are sewists, they do their makes, they're like, no, you should always do a mock-up because you don't want to waste your good fabric on a mistake. So you want to see. So although all my fabric is cheap, the bottom line is, how am I locating cozy? I'm making something. I'm making a top, and if it's ugly, you may or may not see it. Not on this channel. You may or may not see it on my social media. But if it's gorgeous, I'm gonna be flaunting the hell out of it. Okay. So Andrea, please do give us like the elevator pitch. Tell us a bit about yourself before we go into the deep dive discussion.
Well, I'm a psychotherapist. I worked as a psychotherapist for many, many years in London and the UK, both in the sort of voluntary sector, and then in the NHS. I rose up to be a manager and just below a consultant as a family therapist in the NHS in the UK. And then I came here and decided to change my life after a series of just events and the change of government and things like that, but I don't want to get into it. Lots of cuts in the service. Decided it was just by accident, because I did a Spanish degree. I did Latin American studies with Caribbean studies and Spanish. So I spoke Spanish before I did a master's in psychotherapy, and someone just needed a translator in Seville. And a friend actually said on Facebook, oh, Andrea would do that. So I saw this post with my name and I thought, yeah, you know what? I will do that. And I did it. And then I did that for 3 months. And then that came to an end. And as I was about to come back to the UK, I thought, I don't want to go back to the UK. And so I started to think about ways of not going back. But I went back and started working as a psychotherapist in the NHS again, and then got offered a job as an English teacher in Seville and moved back to Spain and have been here ever since.
Wow. Okay. So was Spain like on the radar really, or was it like were you looking at some other possible countries?
Yeah, I was thinking about other possible. I lived in New York when I was a student for 6 months, and I've always been going back and forth to New York and to the US and stuff like that. And my plan was to go back to the US and do a master's in creative writing, actually. But then I started to think about it, like, the weather in New York is like extreme.
And you thought it was extreme in London. It's like, yeah.
Winters. And then, and it's hard. I was in the EU, so coming to Spain, I'd never really been to Spain. It was never on my radar. I've been all around Latin America and Central America and stuff. It was not on my radar at all. And initially, Seville was like, this is cool. This is very Spanish. Flamenco and all that, but then it wasn't cool. And then I'd been to Madrid for a weekend before, and I thought Madrid is more like my space. It's capital city. I'm from capital city, so yeah.
Okay. You know what? So a couple of things. One is, we first met because you came. I think I was had just moved to Zaragoza, maybe just a couple of months, and I think you were. I can't remember if you were just because I know we were both in the Melanin Madrid group, but I know that you were coming to Zaragoza with a friend who was visiting, and you decided just to do a little weekend trip. And so that's how we connected. I can't remember exactly how we social media was like, hey, you guys need to talk. And so we ended up connecting. And so that's how we first met, you visiting Zaragoza. Yeah. My first guest in Zaragoza. Yeah. And, and we had such a great time. We've just stayed connected since then. But I remember you telling me that when you lived in Sevilla, and I've shared this story, didn't share your name, but that the heat index in Sevilla.
It's something.
Well, you were talking about how you were going to work every day and how you got sunburned.
First time in my life, I've never been burnt. I was cycling. I used to be a big cyclist. I used to cycle in London, and I cycled all the time in Madrid. And I think it was when I was doing my Salta training. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. I would cycle to the college, and then cycled back before it got too burning hot. One arm got burnt, and I thought, because I'd had an eczema before, I thought, oh, maybe I've got some eczema, because I didn't know what it was. And then it was sunburn. I had sunburn. It was August. Sunburn on one arm. The heat was something else.
Wow. And it's so funny because I've told that story and, because I've been to Sevilla one time and I loved it, but I was there. I want to say it was I can't remember where. I think I want to say that it was like in October that I went. And so I had a lovely time, me and my daughter and my granddaughter years ago, we went. But people that are like, I want to move to Sevilla, I always have that, I share that story, not to scare people off, but just to share, like there's good and there's bad and there's some challenges. And one would be the heat in Sevilla is next level.
Yeah. But that wasn't that wasn't the main challenge why I left. The heat, yeah, if you got aircon, you should survive that. It was the racism. And sexism.
Okay.
I think it's improved. But going to work every day, negra, guapa, negra, negra, constant. Going out for drinks, negra, and men just trying to like proposition me. And some people said, oh, but I don't mind that. I like that. I'm sorry. No. I want to be able to walk the streets and not have people yell at me.
And this was 12 years ago when you first moved. Yeah. And I'm in no way discrediting discarding your experience. I did not like Zaragoza when I first came here. I just felt like I wasn't other, but I felt like they were like shocked to see a Black woman walking around looking like maybe prideful. Maybe they were looking like you were walking around with too much confidence or whatever.
Yeah, you're not like what we're used to. We don't, yeah.
Yeah, and it was confusing to them and stuff, and I remember getting the looks, and that's why Zaragoza was not on my radar initially when I did decide to move here. Now I've seen the growth and the potential, and I see that a lot has changed. But that first impression was like, I could take it or leave it, bye. So have you been back to Sevilla since?
I lived there for 2 years, and then I went back after 10 years of living here. And to be fair, I was only there for the weekend seeing friends. I didn't get comments.
It wasn't as bad.
So I don't live there, but I felt that it was slightly better.
Okay. Yeah.
But also we have to read, the laws have changed. there are now laws against shouting at women in the street. That's harassment, and you can get done for that. So I think that's made a big difference. They've made it illegal. Because whenever I used to say something to people, they'd be like, well, they're not saying anything bad. They're saying you're guapa. I was like, I don't need men shouting at me in the street.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so British. You need to just get used to it. No, I don't need to get used to that. Men need to get used to the fact that they can keep their mouths shut.
Yeah, that's a whole, I think that's just a worldwide thing that people like that's no longer acceptable. And it's like, and you want to, you can call me sensitive, but you know what? Shut the hell up. Okay. Yeah. It's like, oh, you're so sensitive. It's like, no, how about you, and I know it may sound cliche, but do you want somebody talking to your sister that way? Or
exactly, that's what I'd say. Yeah. Your daughter, your sister. Yeah.
Yeah. Toughen up. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, your mum going out trying to get to work in the morning.
One of my friends who lives here in Zaragoza, she's a retired attorney and just very distinguished young lady. And she has been propositioned here in Zaragoza by some older guys, some older locals. And it was so funny because she was having a conversation with this guy. She, how we just sit on the park benches here, on the benches here, and this older guy was like propositioning her, and she was just very nice, like no and everything, till finally a younger local guy went over to the guy and was like, what are you doing? Stop that. Just like, shut up. It was she was telling the story, and she was like, I felt bad for the old man because he was living in some yesteryear. And the younger guy came over and was like, you're embarrassing yourself. Shut up and stop it.
Getting schooled by a young man. The point where I decided to leave Seville was like when this guy came up to me and he just was like, oh, in Spanish, of course. My grandkids are from Ethiopia. They're black like you. And although I thought, I don't really care. And this old
Yeah.
guy, he just wanted to share, he's got black grandkids, and he started
It's like,
getting
I'm
into
an ally.
story. I mean, I don't know the son's story. He started trying to get into his son's business with me, like, well, he couldn't have kids. And I thought, I'm lovely. I'm glad you've got your and he was like, oh, and my grandkid, they call me granddad and all that. I was like, nice for you. Okay, very nice.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to go to work.
Yeah.
So,
And the thing is, for anybody that comes up later on, it's like, well, he was trying. It's like, you know what? Sometimes I just want to be someplace where I don't have to help you justify anything.
yeah.
I don't need to help you be validated for you being open. I don't know if you were some horrible racist, you were raised in an environment to be a racist, and now I'm not. I am so happy for you.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I don't want to be in an environment where I feel like I have to give you kudos for not being a racist asshole anymore.
It was just that, it's just like constant. It's like, you know what? I'm in my space. I don't need people invading my space just because they see a black woman and they feel they're entitled. Good for your son. But I don't know this dude. You know what? That's your kid's business. I don't need to be approached constantly because of the color of my skin.
Yeah.
It's not my business to justify whatever it is you've got going on in your mind.
So you said that you moved to Madrid. You said you lived in the US for a while in New York. So where else have you lived or discovered or considered
I lived in
relocating
Quito,
to?
Ecuador for over a year.
Okay.
Many years ago as a student. I would not consider living back there. But while I was there, I was in Colombia, in Cartagena,
Mm-hmm.
and I loved it. And I had a little bit of, Colombia, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. And also, but my family also are from Barbados, where my dad is from Barbados, but my mum also lived there. And, both of them, that was their final home, was in Barbados, separately, because of, yeah. So I thought, well, maybe we could try it out, particularly now. Barbados, Belize, and St. Vincent have free movement. And I thought, because I was in Belize last year. I've never been to Belize before. And I'm like, is that something that I would consider?
Okay.
And why not? I mean, I'm not averse to move. I mean, I'm quite settled in Madrid at the moment, but I'm not a person that says, this is forever or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, there are things to consider, like healthcare and things like that.
Okay.
But who knows? Who knows what the future may hold?
Okay. People have asked me that. They're like, is Madrid, is Spain, or well, excuse me, Zaragoza, Spain, your forever home? And I don't know, never say never, because I never thought I'd be living here in the first place.
Me neither.
Yeah. So it's like, well, but, what I have said is I feel like Zaragoza is my long-term home base.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows what will happen in the future that may change my mind.
Exactly.
I was born in Germany, and I would like to go there and visit and check out and stuff, and maybe be able to I was adopted, so yeah. But maybe to bypass that, I think there was like some kind of grandfather clause, like if you were born after a certain date after a certain year and adopted, then you still have German citizenship. But because of the year I was born in, I think that I'm not grandfathered in. But I'd like to see if I can fight that and get my German citizenship. Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, one of my sisters, I'm a Barbados citizen, but one of my older sister from my mum and dad, she couldn't get citizenship because she was born before independence, and she's the one that wanted to live there. I mean, she has lived there, she got residency and stuff like that, but it was more difficult for her. I just got it because I just got my my dad's birth certificate, and it was done. But there's often ways around things. So
yeah, never say never stuff, but but yeah, Spain is home, and I love and appreciate it. Absolutely.
Me too.
Absolutely. So how do you have family back in the UK, or?
Yes, I have sisters and a niece, and it's my nieces who I go and see quite a lot.
Oh, that's awesome.
And loads and loads of friends who are like family. My friends are like, I've got really good friends that are family to me, so I go back. So that's another thing about Europe, because it's close, whereas the other places are far. So yeah, so that kind of is in my mind. Would I want to be that far away? But who knows?
Well, that's cool. So when you leave and you come over and you're living in another country, was there, like for me, I know moving here to Spain from the US, I didn't know that I was in having like some kind of mental burnout, PTSD from living in the States. Did you have that kind of experience of like having some kind of mental relief of not being in the UK?
I mean, that was the thing I noticed when when I went to Seville for the first 3 months. I'm a psychotherapist, and I realised that I was at burnout when I left. I'd been off work sick for quite a long time, and then I got made. They were redundancy happens where they kind of were trying to make you go into another job. And I just realized I didn't want to do that. I needed to take a break from psychotherapy. I'm glad at the moment because I've just done a coaching course. So I'm going back to psychotherapy and coaching. I've just had a session this morning. Mm-hmm. But being in the health service, and I was in some quite tough teams. I was like, I was in the child sexual abuse treatment service. And then the last job I was in like a really sort of heavy tier 4. And as I talked about, all the cuts, we all like from the collapse, there was lots of cuts, and I just felt like I just needed to have some space away from that, really. So and so I came away and realized I love London. I love the multiculturalism of London. I really, really miss it. But not enough to go back. I think the way of life for me here in Madrid is easier. I live in the centre. At the moment, I just walk everywhere. It's just usually when the weather's okay. It was also you could be outside.
Yes, I so embrace and love and appreciate not having to have any kind of car insurance, and I love being able just to get around by catching the tram or train or subway or walking. It's that part right there is easing my brain, not just financially, but also not having getting yelled at or for cutting somebody off or getting cut off, or all the things that go along with having private transportation or having your own vehicle. That part right there.
Yeah, I was a biker in London. I never passed my driving test, and London's a big city, but the transport system, it was just, it's expensive. It's crowded. It's good that we've got it, but I was lucky for many, many years that I work across the road from my house. So when I had to commute, that's when things got tough. I was tough, commuting from one part of London to the other. So eventually I got a bike and I was cycling 20 miles a day. I was so fit. It was really good.
Wow. Yeah, I can't get on a bike. That's not happening. Okay. It will not be pretty. Yeah, we have the running joke here in one of my walking groups here, and they're like, "Yeah, we, get a bike and we can go biking." I'm like, "No, that's okay. No,
I'm too scared.
Because I will be the one that'll get hit by a car, or just like it'll be my fault. I know it would be my fault if I got on a bike here, because they have a wonderful biking lanes and everything. The infrastructure for the bikers is wonderful here. I would still fuck it up. Yeah. Okay.
That's one thing. Now I think about it, that I miss about Seville. Perfect for cycling. I biked everywhere. I loved it. And London, I set up for cycling. I biked everywhere. But Madrid, although I have friends that do, I'm just not brave enough. And also because I'm not very good. I'm one of the kids that, I don't know if it happened in the US. If you were left-handed, they forced you to be right-handed.
Oh.
So I've got that brain. I've got no sense of what's left and what's right, really. So I get confused quite a lot. So the likelihood of me cycling on the wrong side of the road here would be very, very high.
You would cause the accident. Yeah. Okay.
It was totally me. Yep.
So when you first moved to Madrid, what was your first impression of Madrid versus Sevilla, or Madrid, Spain versus being in London?
I'd been to Madrid for a weekend to meet some friends, and it felt like a less multicultural London. It felt like it had more going on, which is it has. It's got more going on. It's more lively. There's more going on. One of the things about Seville back then, weekends, everything shut down at the weekend, and it just reminded me of my childhood, because back then in London it was the same, and so I found it quite boring after a while. And then, eating and drinking, yeah, good. But you don't want to spend your life eating and drinking.
I'm sorry. Okay, just everybody, in case you don't know stuff, like Andrea has a cat that's like trying to bust in the door right now.
I've got
This is
2
so.
cats.
Oh, okay, yeah, 2 cats. So yeah, just yeah.
Mhm.
Y'all been around when I've like done a live and I was at a pet sit and the dog was like just barking, like I'm not shutting up. So yeah. Anyways, I hear it and I'm like, oh, listen to them.
I mean,
Anyways,
it's either I let her in and she'll be up in the camera, she'll be trying to get on my lap, she'll be doing all that, or I try and leave her out there and she will calm down eventually.
okay.
What
So
might have
if
done
you need
now.
to let her in, that's fine.
Mm.
So, but you've definitely found home and community and space and diversity in, well, in Madrid.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so what has been maybe the most challenging? Yeah. What surprised you the most as far as being the most challenging thing that you had experienced maybe then or now in Madrid?
In Madrid is like people's, it'll go back to the same thing, the racism, people's attitude. I mean, and they think they're not being offensive. And some fetishization, that kind of thing. You just think, oh God, and the racist language that people will use sometimes, not just about black people, but about Asian people, Chinese people, and Latin Americans and people, and they don't see it as offensive. And when you
Oh
try and
yeah.
have a conversation, I mean, this happened to me recently about blackface and the Three Kings
Yes.
online. And and everyone assumes because I've got an opinion on this that you're just American. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm British.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep.
you don't know the culture. So, yes, I do. I actually studied this stuff and I taught this stuff. Yeah, it was invented to mock the Moors.
Yeah.
When you lot sailed across the seas, expelled the Moors and the Jews from this country, you decided to mock people by painting your face black.
Mm-hmm.
And also by making everyone eat ham to prove they're not a Muslim or a Jew. So I do know this guy. I was like, you know nothing. I've studied this. My degree. I did Latin American studies with Spanish, and
Mm-hmm.
I've taught history. I've had to teach Spanish history at certain points here. So and comments that just like little comments, and even calling the shops by people's ethnicity, and people are like, that's not we don't mean anything. Talking about a walking group, I thought, let me join a walking group. I tried to do my thing. I'm going to go join a walking group. Join the walking group. I'm having a nice time. I'm walking with a group of women, and having a lovely time. We're all chatting away. Mainly Spanish, some Latin American and stuff. One of the Spanish young women, it was carnival time, like about now, starts telling me about how she dressed as Beyonce for carnival. She gets out her phone and shows me the picture, full of blackface.
Okay.
And I'm like, how am I going to handle this? In my brain, I'm thinking. So I said, that's offensive. Oh, it's okay. Oh, no, all the
He's like, I'm telling you, it's offensive. I don't need you to tell me that it's not. When I'm looking at it, it's offensive. Yeah.
And there was a Venezuelan woman who mixed, but very light skinned, could pass for white, and she said it's offensive. I'm sorry, it's offensive.
Yeah.
It's
like,
why do you
I don't
have
need
to
you to tell me that I'm wrong about being offended. Yeah.
It's like, oh, for goodness sake,
Yeah. And it's like I'll never forget one of the groups that I belong to here. This happened like a few years ago. But I just remember what's funny is when people feel comfortable saying something derogatory about another ethnicity, as long as it's not directed at you, it is so, I'm like, why do you think that that's okay? So I was with this group. I'm not going to name the group, but anyways, I was out with this group, and I just remember, just out of the blue, the lady just says, I can't stand those effing gypsies. And I just looked at her, and it was like, she found nothing wrong with what she just said. And I was visiting and stuff, but she said it in English. So, she spoke enough English and everything stuff. And I'm just like, do you don't see anything? It's like, oh, those gypsies. And I'm just like, wow, okay. Yeah, so it's just so funny to me. Not funny, haha, like, but like funny. Like I want to say some terrible things to you about your ignorance and, and feeling okay to show and direct your racism as long as you feel like it's okay to share it with me, because it's not about my ethnicity or my,
Yeah, I've been in situations like that. I mean, and even with a Spanish American friend, a white woman and she was the one saying this stuff. In a group of us, a group of English teachers were doing the summer group, and starts going on about gypsies. It's like, come on, I don't, stop it. And there's a lot of that. There still is a lot of that. I mean, it has a long way to go. And also people are trying to justify it, they say, oh, it's because of Franco. We're not, it's new. It's because we're not used to multiculturalism. I'm like, yeah, but you got a brain though, haven't you?
Yeah. What I like to say is this: coming from America, I don't feel like anything that has been said or the racism that is expressed here, maybe in other countries or in Spain, I don't feel like my life is threatened. But just because your life isn't threatened, as far as my experience, just because my life isn't threatened does not negate the effect or the impact of actions or like passive racism or whatever it is, that the passive aggressive statements or whatever.
I'm going to go let this cat in because...
Go ahead.
Her name is Chi Chi. People go, why is she called Chi Chi? Well, she's called Chi Chi after Chi Chi Devane, who was a black drag queen who died a couple of years back.
Okay, Chi Chi, let's go viral. Hop up here. Okay.
Now she'll probably want to leave the room. We're trying to give you some. Say hello, hi.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
She's precious. She's gorgeous.
Girl. Okay, that was funny. He was like, hello. Okay.
I'm very needy. She is very
needy.
That is
hilarious. That is so hilarious. So we talked about the walkability. I do like to ask some questions like the cost of living. I know the answer somewhat, but the cost of living in Madrid versus Sevilla, maybe versus what you had experienced in London. Can you talk about that?
It's interesting because I mean I was a professional and being older as well. There was a time where you could work and buy a property as a single woman in the UK. I mean, that time has done. It's gone. So I kind of lived well in London.
Okay.
It's Seville. I was extremely cheap when I lived there.
Again, 12 years ago, or
10 years ago,
yeah.
And the main thing I think that's makes the difference is tourism, Airbnb.
Yeah.
When I talk to friends that are there, getting somewhere to rent is impossible. Same as Madrid. I've really noticed the rise in the cost of living here in Madrid. I mean, I see some people posting to rent out their rooms at prices that I pay for my flat, for my whole flat, and it's just the cost of living it's interesting because the wages are not going. It's the same everywhere. It's the same, I think, all over Europe. The wages are not rising, but housing, food, everything else is rising.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I'm so thankful that, my flat that I have, I literally had posted within one of the groups that I belong to, like before I even moved here, and I just said, hey, I'm moving here, and I stayed with my my daughter and son-in-law for the first few months and everything. But I'm so thankful that the flat that I have, and I was going to look at moving in another part of Zaragoza, and I'm like, girl, you have insulation, you're used to the level of noise that your neighbors have below you, beside you, and below and above you. You can deal with that. I am so and I'm like, when it's cold outside, I am still decently warm. When it's hot in the summer months, I have good AC, even with the window, because I don't keep my little shutout blinds closed during the summer months. I have to see sunlight. So I think about all the pros and cons of living here. And I'm like, girl, I'm sticking right here. My family here is growing, and I need to make sure I have a good space. I have a 4-year-old and a 6-month-old grandchildren. I'm very thankful for the relationship that I've cultivated and built with my landlord. And I lucked out. Definitely.
Yeah, I did. I'm very lucky. So, I mean, I try not to comment so much anymore because not everybody's going to have that luck. People are trying to make a buck. People are Airbnb.
As much as I have some issues, like I hate the color of the walls, and I'm like, one day I might paint them, but it's like this ugly mauve walls. But overall, I'm like, girl, get over it. You have a wonderful place to stay, and you're in a great neighborhood, and you're safe.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's all that matters. And what's funny is this: you really do, when you move to, like, especially European country or whatever. As far as me being American, you really do kind of start to realize what you can do without
Yeah.
and what is acceptable. Like, I don't have a dishwasher. In the US, it's like, no dishwasher. What? Girl, just
Now,
the most random little, to me, I think on it now and I'm like, I don't want to say trivial, but yeah, I do look at it like, yeah, things that you don't necessarily need is not the end of the world if you don't have, or if it's some odd, layout or whatever. If I feel safe in my home, outside, when I step outside in the neighborhood, and accessibility to the public transportation, I'm good. I don't have to, I don't necessarily, like, I don't have to wear, a hoodie inside the house, thank God. But, there's some challenges, but overall, I'm thankful and I'm happy. So very blessed that I did find a wonderful landlord that treats me wonderful. I have called that lady, off topic. I have called my landlord about, like, oh, the AC is like, I think the vents need to be clean. I did not know that here in Spain, you got to clean your own vents. I didn't know. I didn't know
because I'd never had that before. And, it's only when the boyfriend moved in that he cleaned the vent. So for 10 years I've been living here. And I don't know what air has been blowing around on me. But yeah, I didn't know these things. But then also, I didn't really know about, I did live in the US. I lived in New York, which I realise now is just not typical. So recently there was a post by someone from the US who has moved here, and she was washing her clothes and couldn't understand why they couldn't get dry. She's washing them in the washing machine. And I had to say to her, well, here, you wash them, you put it on the spin side, and then you hang them outside.
Yeah.
And I suddenly thought, actually, she might not know that because she's never had to do it. You got a dryer and it just, you put it on the... Because having a dryer in the UK is unusual. Even though it rains all the time. Most people I know don't have dryers. We hang them up in the house and dry. Yeah, you don't know what you don't know until, or what you can live with until you have to.
Exactly. And what's funny is, because I have, being here, whether I was pet sitting or if I just was like, just bopping around to other, places in the EU, or like I went to Morocco and I had a pet sit in Morocco. The thing is, I have experienced those 2-in-1 washer and dryers. They suck.
Yeah.
They freaking suck. Okay. Yeah. So yes, I am so beyond used to just like, doing my laundry. I don't have a line outside and everything stuff. So I literally have like a wardrobe rack, like a hanging rack, or I hang stuff over the door or whatever and stuff. And it's dry within, a day here in my place. It's dry within a day if I'm hanging it inside, and it's just me. Yeah, you get over it.
It's very interesting. Like, the differences, because I hadn't really, because I lived in New York, and when I lived in New York, I didn't have anything. I barely had any furniture. Certainly didn't have no wash. Went to the laundrette around the corner. No.
Yeah, things that you just don't even think about. Yes, I get that. So I was going to ask you about. So you said you speak Spanish. So you don't have any problems like with communication or anything like that, or is it different from your educated from? Is it different from what you learned as far as Spanish versus coming to a Spain country? They're like, what are you trying to say?
Yeah, I was because I did Latin American studies, and as I said, I lived in New York and I lived in Ecuador. First time I came to Madrid, it's like, why are these people shouting at me, and why are they so rude? Because it's much more polite. The Spanish is much more polite in South. I had a Spanish lesson this morning. I still do lessons because my company at the moment gives us free lessons. So I did a lesson this morning. We were talking about the difference in terms of the directness of Spaniards as compared to Latin Americans or Caribbean Spanish speakers. So it was a real shock to me. And lots of people said, oh, well, then you moved to Andalusia and that must have been difficult. I said, well, no, it was actually easier in Andalusia. I understood the accent more in Seville than I did here in Madrid.
I've heard that. I've heard people say that. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I can't remember, was it you or was it was somebody else that was saying that they had some friends that they came over and they each were staying in different regions of Spain, and that they said that when they came back together, they were like, oh no, it was easier down in Andalusia
Mm.
versus other parts of Spain, especially northern Spain. They were like, oh, that was like mission impossible if you're in northern Spain.
Yeah, yeah, no. But now I feel. I mean, I'm no way bilingual. I mean, because it's really because actually most of my friends are English speakers,
Mhm.
so I speak English all the time. My partner's Venezuela. We speak Spanish at home, but I
Okay.
realise my vocabulary is not as great as it should be. This is why I'm continuing with lessons. My grammar's not perfect, but I can get by.
So I have to tell you, when I was in Madrid a couple of weeks ago, and a group of us, me and Andrea and two other young ladies, we got together. We went to have some dim sum, and then we went out to this lovely cocktail bar speakeasy that was really awesome. Man, the drinks were good. But when we were meeting up for the dim sum, I got there first. And the lady was asking me how many, and I said 12 personas para mesa. And, was my Spanish horrible? Absolutely. But she still should have understood. She was just like, I don't know what you're saying.
It's true.
I was like, and I'm holding up cuatro personas. And so she went and got like somebody, like one of the younger workers and everything stuff. And I was like, well, okay. So I got there first. I couldn't even, well, eventually they were like, no, you have to wait outside until the rest of your party comes. But then you came in, and then Jasmine came in and stuff, and y'all were just like, I'm like, okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember? Yeah, she had that other woman. Like when we came to order, she was trying to bring that other woman. It's just, oh, I mean, I quite like the fact. I've noticed English is becoming more and more prevalent on the streets of Madrid. Shops actually have their signs in English and everything like that. And half of me thinks, well, I would I prefer them to stay in Spanish, because I am in Spain.
Yeah.
I came to Spain because but I know globalization is happening. So, but you know what? You got to try and keep the Spanish going.
Yes. They don't have the patience for me to try to practice my Spanish. This is what I now know, because I'll be like, no, let me say it in Spanish. I can do it. And they're like, girl, what do you want? Okay. What do you want? I'm like,
Yeah, I've
okay.
got time. I mean, I'm not like this, but I had a friend who would get very angry, who's been here 20 odd years, get very angry when waiters or serving staff tried to speak to her in English. She'd get angry and try and fight them. I'd be like, oh, come on, look, you know what? It's pretty obvious that you're not a native speaker. And, they've probably been to hospitality school where they were told that they had to speak some English.
Yeah.
You don't have to fight people just because they're speaking to you in English. They're not making an assumption you are English.
Just like, yes, they can recognize the dialect and they know and stuff. And also what I've come to realize is because a lot of times they just want to practice their English. They're like, oh, I'm going to practice my English. I get to speak to somebody in English. So you know what? Sometimes it's just not a fight that I'm not going to fight that fight. It's like, girl, I'm going to probably communicate with you better when we do this in English. Your bad English is much better than my bad Spanish. Trust me. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's other fights that I would fight. I mean, I'm not anti-fighting, but that is not something. If someone wants to try and use their English on me, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. So you said that while you are finishing up, you're a therapist. You're going from therapist to life coach.
I am.
Yeah. What has that been like? What is that change in credentials or education? What does that look like for you?
Well, I did a diploma. I mean, there's lots of people who say they're life coaches, but they're not. I'm a psychotherapist trained, and counsellor as well, with many, many years of experience. And I kind of figured that I'd like to help people, but it doesn't have to be directly connected to mental health. Okay. And when I did my master's in psychotherapy, I quite liked solution-focused psychotherapy, because did a master's in family therapy. I did a diploma in counselling, then did a master's in psychotherapy, about looking at solutions and getting people to think about ways that they can change things. So I decided to do a life coaching qualification diploma. Okay. And I've enjoyed it, actually. It's very interesting. I mean, it's very similar to when I did person-centered counselling. my diploma in that. It's very similar. But yeah, it's just like helping people to sort of, for example, like you say, your locating cozy is like helping people think about moving. What's their goal? What do they want to achieve? Lots of people have trepidation about changing countries, making changes in their life. So the life coach is about that, really helping people think about the changes they can make in their lives.
Okay. So how do you plan to utilize that, or what type of services are you going to be implementing once you go live? Is your website live yet?
My website has just gone live.
Okay.
Yes,
All
I
the
am.
information will be in the description below for all the details. I'm sorry,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yes. So I'm what I'm saying to people is, if you're curious, just contact me, have a little 15-minute conversation to see if we connect and we can come to some agreement. Because I am still a psychotherapist, but I am also a life coach. So if your people are thinking that they want some psychotherapy or counseling or coaching, I'm available to do such things, really. I'm a member of the Association of Coaches at the moment. So coaching is what I'm sort of moving towards, but through my training and through my supervision during my training, you don't have to separate. You can do both, and that's what I'm hoping to do. And my thing is accessibility. I always worked in the health service or in the voluntary sector, so I feel that people need to be able to access support when they need it. So I don't think money should be a reason why people don't get the support they need. So I'm willing to talk to people about what it is that they think that they could afford, and to do it that way, to think about it that way.
And is this open for all genders, identities, age ranges?
Everybody's open to everybody. Because fortunately, because I've got the training, I did individual counselling diploma, worked as an individual counsellor, did family therapy. Well, I did systems. So I'm a systemic psychotherapist, so thinking about systems and everything. So and now the life coaching is just general general coaching.
Okay. And is there any because as a life coach, that's more on the forefront of the introduction or qualifications. Can they be located anywhere in the world, or is
Anywhere
there?
in the world.
Okay.
I've done an international training,
Okay.
so they can be located anywhere in the world. Yes.
Okay, send me I wanted to go ahead and do a flash on the screen. So here is the link for Andrea's website that will help you connect with her so that she can help you in some of your decisions if you need some kind of guidance or some kind of support to help you work through some barriers that you might be feeling. Here is her information. Her link will also be in the description below, as stated before. And I'm really, really happy for you. I'm so glad that we did connect. Well, one, I'm so glad that we just initially connected years ago now.
Yes, it's true. Yes.
2 years ago now and stuff. But yes, and that we've stayed connected. That has been such an honor to really be building and cultivating genuine relationships. We don't see each other or talk to each other all the time, but like if she's passing through, or if I'm going to be in Madrid, I always just say like, and she might be somewhere else in the world, but I'm always like, so hey girl, I'm coming to Madrid. What you doing? Okay.
I really liked Zaragoza. I'd like to go back again. I liked it. Was like a small town. Yeah, but it has it's got stuff going on. It was nice.
Yes, it's the fourth largest city in Spain. I was just interviewed on Spain Revealed. Yeah, I'll have that link somewhere. I'll have that in the bio. I was just interviewed by James Blick of Spain Revealed last month, but one of the first episodes just posted yesterday, and then he's going to have a secondary episode that's going to post next week. So, and that was the big thing, because he was like, he's like, I've lived here for years and I've never been to Zaragoza, which is right down the road from Madrid. Yeah. Little hidden secret. Yeah. Yes. Best kept secret in Spain that people don't know about, because they only hear about, Valencia. They only hear about Sevilla or Madrid or Barcelona. So yeah, I love that. So I wanted to get some information, kind of delve into that a little bit more, was about how cross-cultural relations and parenting. You said that you got your master's in that. And can you share some insight on that,
Yeah,
please?
my dissertation, because I was quite. I mean, I'm interested in culture as well, being having Caribbean parents and being born in the UK. There was always some sort of things that are, you know, you know. I've always been interested in culture and how cultures change and evolve and how people coming together from different cultures and how that worked. So my dissertation was on cross-cultural parenting and whether there are stories and traditions from cultures that are sort of kind of make things difficult. I mean, I'm also in a cross-cultural relationship myself, and most of my relationships have been cross-cultural. Be it that be the person be from Botswana, from Spain, from Venezuela, or whatever. And so I was interested in whether the fact that you're from a different culture makes it difficult, or whether it's just the fact that we're just all different people. But it was always like and ideas around daughters and female behaviour that the men had was the main issue
Okay.
about what they would allow daughter to do as opposed to how they would be if they had sons. So that was quite an interesting thing. So gender came out more than anything, more than ideas around culture. It was ideas around gender. And some of these ideas, I mean, might have come from their culture, but they had the same stories about how their daughters should behave as opposed to their son. One didn't have sons, but if they had sons and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting. But I've also...
You know what? That's it's so funny because I think overall, and I'm so glad that I have 3 daughters, and I'm so thankful that over time we have stepped out of that expectation that the males in our lives, the counterparts or peers of our young women, they're allowed to think outside the box, to discover, to play with things and figure things out. And the young ladies are told to stay in their lane, to always be respectful and mindful, and constantly apologizing for being extra, for being more. I always give my kudos to my daughters for my ability now to step outside and do different. As much as I feel like I have inspired so many, especially Black women, to do things different, my daughters inspired me. Like I was like, oh, I can do it my way. What?
I was just thinking about the stories for but a lot of the men the fathers that I interviewed, their thing was because they know what men are like. Their issues were not about they were concerned about how their daughters behaved. They were concerned about how they would be treated by men, and they would say, "I'm a man. I know what men think like." So they were like, people go, "Well, not all men." When something awful happens. Well, I was like, well, these fathers they were actually saying to me, it's the men. My concern for my daughters is how they will be treated by men.
Yeah. So versus instead of challenging the men to do better, just make the daughters just stay in the box. Yeah. You need to act right, so you do not encourage. We're not going to hold the men accountable.
Yeah, not going to. Yeah.
We never do that. Hold the men accountable for their actions. No.
Or even you've got to stay in your lane. Make sure you don't have to not put yourself in a position for anything to happen to you.
Yes,
it's your fault. Yeah, already not that. Because I know what men are like, and we're supposed to let them get away with it. These were the stories that I was getting from these fathers. I think the thing is to be aware. I think once awareness is one thing, but change is different. Loads of people are aware of where things come from, but they don't do anything. They don't do anything to act different, to change. So this is where the coaching, I think, is quite interesting, because in therapy you could spend years with someone going over what happened in the past. But if they want change, they need to be able to see where they want to be in the future as well. So coaching is more about that, sort of moving towards a goal, as opposed to let's explore all the things. So awareness is good. To bring about awareness, but also bring about change is what I'm kind of thinking about. And some things will trigger you, and you might go back to how you were back then. My parents, they immigrate to the UK. But part of my immigration story that I've got, part of my freedom to move countries, comes from them. It comes from the fact that they did it. Their reasons were different.
Yes.
And also they went back, so they back and forth. So why should I? So when I was coming to move to Spain, not when I was going to New York or to Ecuador, because I was studying, but when I was giving up a career, as people saw it, to move, my friends were like, "That's a backward step," and I'm thinking, well, how is change ever backwards. So yeah, there are
Yeah.
things that people still say, why you shouldn't do it. You should stay, like you've said quite a lot, stay in your lane, don't challenge things.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I like what you said about, the coaching is to help you like to move through. There's a difference between, this is just me because I'm not a therapist. Okay. So first, but it is wonderful to acknowledge the past,
Mm-hmm.
to acknowledge maybe the root cause
Mm-hmm.
of why you have the certain perceptions or maybe because why you act a certain way. But acknowledging it, I think, also allows you to acknowledge it and then move that hindrance out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that. It's like, yes, this was ABC happened to me in the past. ABC is what I've known. But
Mm-hmm.
now that I've acknowledged the flaw in some of that thinking or some of those experiences,
Mm-hmm.
now what steps can I take to move forward and become the best version of me possible? Make no mistake, some horrible things happen to great people, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Things happen in life. But at some point, we have to, hopefully, the goal is to acknowledge it. You might have to carry that weight with you some, but then eventually that burden, that weight falls off and you're able to release and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like what you're offering in some of your
Yes.
services.
That's what I would like to offer people. That's what I do offer people. It's what I did offer people when I was as a psychotherapist. You can go onto my website and you can read some testimonials. They're all real people. So they're all quite long. Some of them quite long, but they're real people who I've worked with.
Well, thank you so much. This has been so amazingly insightful, and I really do appreciate you wanting to come on and share your insight and your experiences from, an individual moving to Spain from the UK and then the services that you offer. So is there anything else that you feel like maybe we didn't touch on that I need to like come on in and let's talk about it?
No, I think we've covered quite a lot of them. Quite a lot of what I wanted to talk to. There's nothing else. I mean, sometimes when I think sometimes when I talk about some of the negatives like the racism and stuff like that, people are like, "Why are you here?" Well, it's all because I've got a right to be anywhere. And like, you know what? If you let that stop you, you'd never do anything because no matter where you're going to go or where you're going to be, you're going to get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm not going to sit still because of a fear of some side eye or attitude or some blatant words that might come out of some ignorant fuck's mouth. Okay. I can't do that. Everybody has what they can tolerate.
Yeah, exactly.
And then also you don't know what you can tolerate. Well, actually, if you're in the US, you tolerate, in certain other parts of the world, you're tolerating a lot right now.
You are.
Okay?
Yeah.
So this is not to negate anybody's experience as far as racism or colorism or classism. This is not to negate that. I will never tell anybody like, oh yeah, it's just perfect over here. You never have to deal with any negativity or challenges in life. What I'm saying is that it's still very possible. And what you're saying, as far as I can understand, is that you're saying that part does not negate the opportunity and the life that you've built here.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, I've been happy. I would, I'm not a person that would stay in misery. If I wasn't happy, I wouldn't stay. So
Exactly. It's not whatever the negativity or challenges that we experience is not something that's like day in, day out, 24/7. It's like, yes, we might have some spots and some stuff that goes down. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? But overall, life is good.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you so much. Please do make sure that you like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that you will know the next time I have something really insightful and wonderful, or the next time I go live or post or whatever. Appreciate the support. If you are traveling or you want to travel to Spain and you're like, I can't travel by myself, I just can't do that. I've been waiting on my best friend, my cousin, my mom, my sister, my boyfriend, or whoever to come visit Spain with me, and they won't. You might need a travel buddy. Please do check out the link below. It's Locating Cozies. Connect with me and you will see how, if you need a travel buddy, I am here as your professional travel buddy to help you experience the concierge wonderful experience here. Check out the links, connect with me, follow me on all the social medias. I'm finally on TikTok. I don't know, I'm starting to like it a little bit. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, I'm all there. Thanks guys, y'all take care.